Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks very much for joining us at the Ingenta webinar today, the 14th of March. Ingenta Connect complies fully with counter statistics, and currently we provide counter for and sushi statistical reports free of charge for all our registered library administrators, regardless of whether or not they belong to our library membership scheme. We're now gearing ourselves up for the introduction of Counter 5. The new code of practice is now published, and there will then be an 18-month grace period for publishers to comply with the new code. Counter Release 5 aims to provide a much clearer, simpler set of reporting standards. In particular, we, the aggregator, will have to provide for greater consistency in report layouts between formats and in vocabulary, with only 15 standard reports, geometric types that are combined with additional items. It's my pleasure to hand you over to Project Count. She'll be able to tell you a lot more about the new code, and her presentation will be available on our YouTube channel later this month. And of course, we'll send the link out to all participants in this webinar. We'll also feature a presentation on Lorraine's talk this afternoon in our NetLibrary newsletter, which will be available at the end of May. I'll hand over to Lorraine.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone can hear. I've just seen in the chat some people are having problems. And first of all, thank you, Byron, for inviting me and to the team at Ingenta for facilitating this webinar. I thought I'd begin by telling you a little bit about Counter. Counter is an organisation, a not-for-profit membership organisation, and our members are libraries, publishers and vendors. And Counter's main function is, of course, to provide the code of practice for counting and reporting usage statistics in an electronic library setting. And the code of practice is designed to ensure that the usage statistics that librarians rely on for decision making are consistent both within a publisher and across the various publishers and vendors, credible and comparable. So that is a little bit about us and what we do. I hope the echo is gone and everyone here. Let me know if not. Counter usage statistics can be used for various things, but the scenario here, I suppose, is the most common use case, and that is really helping the librarian to understand the value of the content that they are buying. And of course, usage is just one of the factors that you would use in making that evaluation. But it's quite an important one. And in the scenario in front of us, we can see our imaginary university, Camford, purchases 2 journals for 2018, Journal X for £25,000 and Journal Y for £10,000. At the end of the year, Camford librarians run the Release 5 TR_J1 report to check the full text usage of each journal and excluding open access articles. And I'll talk to you a little bit later about how that works. Now, while Journal X is more expensive, it has a much better cost per unique download. And you can see here the calculation, how that works out. Journal X, 42 pence per unique item request, and Journal Y, pound per unique item request. So we can see very quickly how the usage statistics enable that cost per download comparison. As Byron told us, we published Release 5 of the Counter Code of Practice in July last year. And publishers, as again Byron said, have 18 months in which to comply with the new code. Release 5 really aims to address some of the issues that we came across in the previous releases. One of the most important areas that Release 5 aims to address is consistency. It's quite a long time since Release 4 was published, and publisher platforms and the way they operate has changed quite a lot since then. So Release 5 aims to make things much more consistent across all the different publisher platforms. And it does that through 4 master reports, and each master report can be filtered for standard views, and we'll have a look at how those work later on. One of the other things that we've done in Release 5 is try to improve the clarity. When I first came to Counter 3 years ago, I undertook a survey, and one of the great pieces of feedback we had was, can you please make it clearer? So I think we've done that. We've reduced the number of metrics and we've renamed them for clarity. And again, we'll have a look at those new metrics later on. And we've also introduced a great deal more flexibility in Release 5. And again, we'll have a look at how that flexibility works. But you can use Release 5 to, as we looked at in the first scenario, to do that quick look at downloads and get that picture of cost per download. But there are a lot of other attributes in the data which will enable you to get a much richer picture of what is going on. Where have I gone? Sorry, I think I've gone wrong in my where was I, Clara? Sorry, I beg your pardon. So, as I say, at the foundation of Release 4, we have the 4 master reports: the platform master report, the database master report, the title master report, and the item master report. And each of those master reports will include a wealth of data, of usage data, and that will that rich data set is something where we believe that the vendors and publishers can provide you with an interface, a simple interface that will give a window onto that data. So here is a mock-up of the sort of interface we expect you to be able to see from the publishers and vendors that you're using, which will be giving you the window, as I say, onto those master reports. And in this example, we can see that somebody wants to have a look at total item requests. Again, they're looking at journals, they're looking at journal usage, but they want to see the use of gold open access only. So under access type here, that's an attribute that they have put in. They put in their date range, and they will be able to run that report and see the use of gold open access articles in the journals that they subscribe to. And of course, those fields can be adapted for various user cases. The master reports, as I say, contain a great wealth of data. But of course, sometimes you won't want all that wealth of data. You're going to want a quicker snapshot for a particular purpose. So within each master report, there are a series of what we call standard views. And those standard views are really perhaps similar to the counter usage reports that you will be using at the moment. So under the platform master report, you've got the platform usage standard view. Under the database master report, the database search and item usage, and then the database access denied. And then under the title reports, you will get a number of standard views, and these perhaps most closely relate to the book reports and the journal reports that you will be used to in Release 5. So you will have book requests, excluding OA Gold, book access denied, and book usage by access type. And again for journals, journal requests, excluding OA Gold, journal access denied, journal usage by access type, and journal requests by year of publication. Under the item master reports, that's where you will get quite granular data. The journal article requests report is primarily designed for institutional repositories, but it could be used to provide item reports from commercial publishers if they so wish, but it's not a requirement of Release 5 to report at the article level. And the multimedia item requests are the reports that will give you, as it says on the can, reports of multimedia usage. As I said, when we designed Counter Release 5, we reduced the number of metrics. And the metrics are the things that really identify the type of user activity that is being reported on. And here you can see the full list of the metric types in Release 5. I think the searches, regular, searches federated, searches automated, searches platform are quite familiar to us really, and they are the ones that are used on the platform and the database reports. On the denial reports, again, no license limit exceeded, pretty familiar to us. But the new metric types for usage have me foxed a little bit to begin with. Total item investigations, total item requests, unique item investigations, and so on. This is a new vocabulary, really, and it took me a while to really understand how it was all going to work. But this diagram here really helped me to understand what those new metrics are. And we can divide those metrics into two types really, and they're all about user action. So in the blue, we have investigations. A user is investigating some content. That might be viewing an abstract, link to a link resolver, viewer cited reference, etc. So anything really where the user is thinking, this might be useful to me. And then we have the requests, the full HTML text, the viewing the PDF, or watching a whole video. So that is when the user has investigated and has decided that they really want to request to have that text. Now, this is very, very helpful in getting over the problem that we have in Release 4, which is around the different types of platforms and how they operate. As you'll probably all be aware, some platforms will take a user to an abstract, and then the user will have to click on that abstract to get to the full text. Other platforms will take the user directly to the full text. And that was causing some difficulty in getting comparable usage statistics across the different vendors. But these new metrics really get over that problem. And that is because investigations, that is because requests are also investigations. So I'm going to talk to you through a scenario. It's a little bit complicated, but it really does help to begin to understand how this works. So in this scenario, we have our imaginary user, Susan, who is researching the history of antibiotics on publisher platform X. And from a list of search results, she opens 3 article abstracts and a video record. All 4 records are different, but 2 of the articles are from the same journal. So then we can see that in our reports, that will give us total investigations 4, because there were 4 different records, unique item investigations 4, unique title investigations 3, and that's because, of course, 2 of those records were from the same journal. Now, after reading the abstracts, Susan downloads the PDFs for 2 of the articles, both of them from the same journal, sorry. And we can see there that the total investigations increases to 6. The unique item investigations remains at 4. The unique title investigations remains at 3. But the total requests is now 2, and the unique item request is 2, and the unique title request, because both articles came from the same journal, are 1. So I think that gives you a little view onto how these metrics operate in terms of understanding user behavior and counting that behavior in a consistent way, regardless of the type of platform that the user is using. Now, as I said, as well as the metrics, Release 5 also has quite a lot of attributes, and those attributes will be recorded in the master reports, and they will give you a much richer window onto what is happening. So the first of the attributes is data types, and you can see here that the data types identify the general type of content that is being accessed and for which the usage is being reported. So an article, a book segment, a database, etc. And as I said, Release 5 is also designed for repositories as well. So you can see here we have repository items, theses, dissertations, and so on. Section types is the attribute which we use when content is delivered in chunks, to use that technical term, and describing what that section is. An article, a book chapter, etc. And of course, as you can imagine, this section type is most useful when we're looking at the usage of books. And we'll have a look at that in more detail later on. We also have the access method. And that is really around whether the usage relates to human usage or text or data mining usage. Now, I do want to assure you that text and data mining will not be included in your standard journal reports, but that usage data will be available in the master reports. And increasingly, university libraries want to see text and data mining activity because it's part of the value that they are providing to their researchers. So that will be there for you to find if necessary. Very important as well is the year of publication. Some of you may use JR5 in Release 4. And the year of JR5 doesn't really exist in Release 5, but year of publication really enables you to separate out current journal content from archival content that you may have access to under a separate license. The other thing which is different in Release 5 are the reports. As you probably know only too well, in Release 4, the reports are quite different. If you're looking at journal reports, they're different from book reports, which are different from database reports, and so on. In Release 5, all the reports are consistent. There are consistent headers, consistent vocabulary, and consistent detail, which will make them much easier to use, and of course also really helps with Sushi, which enables the automated download of usage statistics. So that's another feature. Now, I talked a little bit about the book reports, the book usage. And this has been really a very difficult thing in Release 4. Some of you may have used the reports and know this already. But in Release 4, there are two types of reports. The type of report which tells you about the use of ebooks which are only available as a single PDF. So the user downloads a PDF of the whole book. And then you have another set of reports which tell you about usage of books which are delivered as chapters or some other type of section. And that gives you a rather awkward picture because you can't add those two reports together. But now in Release 5, the standard view will be the book requests, excluding OA Gold, and that will show you your book usage for all your licensed content. And the unique, and the key metric type here is that unique title requests. So, of course, you will be able to see how many sections of a book have been downloaded and so on. But if you want to look at use at the title level, the unique title request will give you that figure that you have been looking for now. So you won't need to try and mash two reports together. All that information will be in the single book requests report. The other user case, of course, that libraries often want to look at is database usage. And again, here the standard view to use will be database search and item usage. And the metrics there will be searches, requests, and investigations. Some of you may already be using in Release 4 database reports, and they have result clicks as one of the metrics, which is I think everyone's bête noire. That goes away, and we just have the requests, investigations, and searches. So much easier to use. And the key metric types again are really different depending what type of database that you're looking at. So total item investigations for non-full text databases, and the metric for full text databases will be total item requests. Now, a little bit about the transition timeline. As we heard earlier from Byron, Ingenta is working to get ready for Release 5, and I'm really pleased to say that publishers and vendors around the world are working on the implementation of Release 5, and the deadline is January 2019. Now, that means from the library perspective that you will get your first Counter Release 5 reports in February 2019, because of course January will be the first month of using Release 5 for counting and reporting. Publishers, of course, are also required to retain and provide 24 months of counter reports going backwards. So your old reports will still be there, but as I say, from February, you will be using Release 5 reports. Release 5 is quite a big change, really, quite a radical change. And one of the reasons for that is that we wanted to do something that would stand the test of time. So the idea of Counter Release 5 is that it will be the standard into the future under continuous maintenance. So we do not envisage another major release of the Counter Code of Practice for a very long time. Instead, we're moving to a process where we can make small incremental changes to the Code of Practice as required by librarians or vendors and publishers to meet changing needs. But as I say, that has meant a really, really significant change. So we are trying to support publishers, vendors, and of course librarians as they get to grips with Counter 5, the new vocabulary, the new reports, and so on. For publishers and vendors, we have run a number of webinars, and we will run some more to support them. And we have a special email list for publishers and vendors where they can post their questions to Counter. But we're also trying to support libraries as well. So I was really pleased today to be able to make live on our website our friendly guide to Release 5 for librarians. Sorry. And this guide, as I say, hot off the press, published today, you can get it from the website, really goes through some of the things that we have been talking about briefly on this webinar, and it will really help you get to grips with the new vocabulary. And I will send the link to the guide to Byron, who again might be able to make it available to you. But the guide again explains the new counter metrics, how they work, and provides a lot more of those scenarios that I was talking to you about that really help you understand how those user actions are counted and turn into Counter Release 5 reports. The other thing that the friendly guide provides, which I think is quite useful, and I find it quite useful getting my head around the new release, is it also provides a section which maps the key Release 4 reports to the Release 5 counterparts. And again, that will be very helpful to you when we make that transition to Release 5. When you're looking at your trend data and so on, you will be able to see how you can map across the two releases to get some consistency over time. So I hope you find that guide useful. The other thing that we have done to support libraries is we've set up an email forum. And really very much the idea of that email forum is to really, well, I suppose, share knowledge as we acquire it. So the email forum will enable librarians to post questions about their Release 5 reports or about metrics, whatever they want to know. And Counter will, of course, answer the questions. But we also hope that as the email forum gets off the ground, that it won't just be Counter responding to the questions. It will also be librarians sharing sharing news, sharing information, and so on. Now, if you'd like to join the email forum, you can send me an email, and I will put you on the list. We won't spam you or anything. This is absolutely an email forum just to answer questions about Release 5. Now, I think we've already had some questions in the chat box. In the chat box from Christy about the PDF downloads and investigation. So I'm going to go back to that, Christy, and give you another look. Yeah, let's just go back to this slide first of all. Yes, I know there's an echo. It's just because I clicked on. Is that better? Yeah, okay. Yes, Christy. Investigations include everything in that box. So viewing HTML full text, viewing PDF full text, and watching a whole video, those actions are both requests and investigations. And the reason for that, as I say, is to provide consistency across the different publisher platforms. So if we go to the scenario again, you will see in the scenario here, I've got a pencil I can point to, when the user does the first investigation, she looks at 4 different records. The total investigations are 4. When she downloads 2 of those PDFs, the total investigations are 6. And that's because those downloads are counted again as investigations because the user is showing interest in them. But your key metric, rather like the old HTML and PDF downloads in the current counter reports, are the unique item requests, which are 2. So she has downloaded 2 content items, investigated 6, but downloaded 2. And at the title level, that's 1 because, of course, those 2 requests came from the same title. So I hope that helps really there to explain. It's quite complicated, but once you have got it, it really becomes much clearer and avoids the complication that we have in Release 4. So Byron, I don't know if you want to take any other questions.
Yes, are there any questions at all from any of the participants with regard to what we're doing at Ingenta Connect? Thanks, Jenny. Jenny's asked how we join the mailing list. All you have to do is to write into our marketing department or tick the box on the Ingenta website. And
all right.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Christy, I think she's talking about the library. Oh, we got the echo back. I think Christy's talking about the library list that I mentioned earlier. If you send me an email, my email address is here. Well, not very readable, I must say, lorraine.estelle@counterusage.org, or if you visit the Counter website, it's there as well. I will add you to the mailing list. It's not on the and you don't. Oh, right. So Leanne is saying she doesn't see the librarian guide on the website. If you go to news, Leanne, you should be able to see it because it is the latest post. So if you go into About and drop down to News, you will see it there. But again, I will also send the link to Byron so that he can make sure that you will, because Byron, I think you said you were going to have a write-up in your newsletter.
That's correct, yes. We'll write up this presentation and send links to the PowerPoint slides in our next newsletter. For those of you who are not subscribed to the Ingenta Connect newsletter, it's absolutely free, comes out every quarter, and contains information which is interesting. It goes out to about 7,500 people. If you would like to, if you have not subscribed and would like to subscribe to it, then please just send me an email. My email is byron.russell@ingenta.com. And we're just noting this up now so everybody's got it.
Oh, and I see Leanne has now found the guide, which is good.
So if you just drop me a mail and you'd like to subscribe to the newsletter, then we'll happily add you to the mailing list. If there are no other questions, I'd like to thank Lorraine for the webinar this afternoon. Very, very interesting, very exciting to see Release 5 coming. Well, it's already here actually, and very pleased to hear that it's going to be the last ever release, which I think is great. The forum looks really interesting, and I'd urge everybody who's participated this afternoon to sign up to the forum and to join in a debate and a discussion. Apart from that, if you have any more questions at all, either about Ingenta Connect or about what you've seen or heard this afternoon, then do by all means drop me an email. We'll be putting the PowerPoint slides up on our YouTube channel very, very soon, and we'll send a link out to everybody who's participated today. Lorraine, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you.